Alright guys, Papa Pepper here with next part of Why We Homestead. This is part 5 and I like to call it a connection. Oof, it's a big spider. I didn't see he was sitting right there. Anyway, a lot of people these days seem really disconnected from a lot of things. Like really disconnected. I understand there's a lot of different agendas out there that people can just, invent their own reality and live there. And if reality or somebody else's reality conflicts with that, then we've got all these laws and rules and regulations and things that, people just can't deal with anything. I don't like that. I don't want my kids to be that way. I don't want my kids, well, first of all, probably, whatever they do with their life is their choice, but I wouldn't really recommend for most people to ever go to college these days. And then if you do go to a college where they have the whole place is a safe place and you can't even discuss politics. I mean, like, if you can't even talk about the world around you, you've got some serious issues. And anyone who's going to go and sit there and make sure those issues never get dealt with, or that you never grow up or learn how to process things, or that you must curl up in the fetal position and start bawling every time you're presented with a conflicting idea to whatever you believe, that's messed up. I use that as an illustration because that's what's going on in America these days, of people who just have no real connection to reality, to the world. Also, you'll find these people in these giant cities, and they live on the 32nd floor of whatever apartment building, and they're going to be, these gung-ho eco-warriors. You don't know the world. You're not out there with the plants and the animals. If you guys have seen my wild animal series, the Wild Men's Wild Friends, I feature like 50 different species already. I'm just like that spider, picking up, interacting with, checking things out. You can't sit there and look at my lifestyle when I'm trying to live in harmony with a small portion of the land and try to interact with plants and animals on that land in a way that's beneficial for the entire ecosystem, entire environment, all parties involved, and sit there and say, I'm destroying the earth, raping the earth, all that type of stuff. Just not going to listen to it, when you live in a concrete jungle and are completely disconnected. And I mean, you can choose to live wherever you want. Sometimes we're brought up in a different environment, but the point is that most people have no clue about a lot of things in reality. Some of those things being like, what is food and where food comes from. Now, when you plop down one nasty, sloppy can of green beans that have sat on a shelf for the past year and a half after being, processed in some factory and stuff, and you put that in front of a kid after you heat it in the microwave, and they say, yuck, I don't want to touch this stuff, I don't want to eat this stuff. They've got no appreciation, no gratitude for that, and in some cases, why would they? However, if you got a kid who's been outside and they've made a hole in the dirt, and they've shoved a bean seed in there, and they've watered that bean seed as it's grown, and they've weeded around it, and they've watched it grow up, and they went out there and they've harvested those beans, and they sat there in the kitchen with mom or dad when we're canning them, and we open a can later, and we pour that out and we heat it up and we serve that for dinner. They have a connection to that food. They have an understanding of the effort it took to produce that and the labor that goes behind it. They have a gratitude and a sense of just connection to their food that gives them some appreciation for it. And they say, wow, this tastes good. This is great. And my kids do that sometimes. As we move too, I mean, weren't some of those burger joints putting kangaroos and other things in the meat? A lot of it's just chemicals, a lot of it's other things. I'm not against eating animals. Every animal on the planet is going to die anyway. Either they die and serve no purpose, or there's things we can do to kill them in the prime of life after they've had a great life, and use them to supply food for a family. I'm okay with that at this point. Maybe I'll change my mind later in the future. But the point is that there's normally two people who are against eating meat in that way, and maybe there's others, but from my point of view, there's two main types. There's the ones who are against things like the industrialized mass meat production type slaughterhouse tight containment of all sorts of animals where I drive past them sometimes. It says, stop, do not enter. And it's these turkey barns or something like that. And they don't even want people looking at where the food comes from, right? And they're packed in there and they just eat a bunch of GMO corn full of antibiotics. And the main job every morning is to go pick up all the dead ones because they're packed in there so tight. And they don't have beaks because they'll peck each other, and they don't have these other things. And pretty much it's it's a shell. It's a fraction of what it's supposed to be. It's empty. It's hollow. It's not the animal as it was meant to be. Well, if I've got some animals, running around on my property in a fenced area, contained, but they're out living the way that they're supposed to, there's a big difference. That I'm against a certain type of raising animals, definitely. I appreciate another type of raising animals, and like I said, so far I'm still okay with eating them. So there's the one people who are against the way that it's done, because there's a wrong way to do it, in my opinion. And there's other people who say, well, we should respect all life, and they're creatures too, and meat is murder. And I understand that, but that's a step in a certain direction now. What's the next logical step, or the next level of enlightenment? Well, the plants are people too. They're alive. They have lives. They can die. It's wrong to rape a tomato tree or a tomato plant by plucking its fruit from it and eating it, and maybe that's murder now. Don't sit there and think that that's, foolish in saying it. That's fine, but to say that it's foolish to think that it's ever going to come to that, watch out. Okay? Because that's the way this world is going. So it's just a step, I believe, in the wrong direction. I would rather be able to plant a seed, walk out in that garden and pick a fruit. I'd rather be able to breed some rabbits or breed some goats or something and raise up some animals and eat them. There's a connection to it. It's not going down to the store with some carbon monoxide, a slab of meat to retain color, and then you buy it for 50% off because it's going to rot in the next day or so, and you better cook it and feed it to your family quick. And I've heard some horror stories about some of the things with food, especially the bananas when they're shipped green, and then all of a sudden they gas them, and all of a sudden they're yellow. Or you get these shipping containers full of meat, and it's hanging there, and it looks horrible, and you spray something in there, and all of a sudden, hey, look, it's all beautiful and red, amazing, looks like nice, tasty stuff. I want my kids to have a connection to the world around them. I want them to understand and have an appreciation for things, and part of that is just to be connected to their food supply. Got a little pepper over there banging around, taking care of some stuff with the pigs right now. It's the lifestyle that we've chosen at the moment. If my kids have a problem with eating things, that's up to them. But so far they understand this, and for us, we can sit there and shop at the store, buy all of our meat and all of our vegetables there, and never have a garden, never have an animal. Personally, we'd rather take a level of control over that. We'd rather have the experience of animal husbandry, raising animals, breeding animals, and stuff like that. If I buy a buck and a doe rabbit and I never breed them, I can do that. They can be my pets. Or I can breed them and use them for food. All of that offspring never had to happen. I chose to have it happen, and a lot of even heritage breeds on farms and stuff have gone extinct in the past 100, 150 years. Why? Because of the industrialization of the food supply. What they want is something that's a species of animal, a type of pig, chicken, cow, whatever, that's going to go quick and easy from baby to slaughter, and that's all they want to grow, and that's all you're going to eat. You're never going to find out that there's all these other kinds, different flavors, different, types of them. But because there's so much of that, and because there is a lot less people heading this way where they're growing up their own, a lot of those heritage breeds have been forever lost. And there's a lot of them that are still in critical states, endangered. It's funny to say, but unless somebody eats them, they'll go extinct. Because unless there's a reason for people to have them, you can sit up there, like I said, in your 32nd story apartment and talk about how, we need to preserve the animals and stuff. And they can say, okay, well, it's just a man-made breed, this type of cattle or this type of chicken, whenever Mother Nature didn't invent it or create it, and it's not some, natural evolutionary one. Man stepped in and messed it up, and then, of course, anytime man's involved, it's evil, right? But man's good, right? But the point is that unless you're willing to do something about it, it is what it is. I would rather Man needs to have a reason to do something. So the majority of people out there these days don't have the opportunity. They just simply don't have stewardship of a portion of land where they can interact in the physical in this way. And then as well, unless there's a benefit to it, I wouldn't have a lot of the animals I have unless there's a benefit to them. The rabbits give me manure, but they also give me meat. The hogs, goats, other things can clear land and do things, but they also give me meat. The chickens, they give me eggs. They give me chicks. They give me meat. If I didn't have a reason for it, we wouldn't have them. So anyway, part 5 is just that we can have a connection to the world around us. Whether you believe in the evolutionary view or a biblical view, where did God put man? In a garden with some animals. Okay? Evolutionary view, where did man come in? Well, he's in the woods and he is an animal. Either way, it's kind of where it started, and it's where I like to be, connected to the world around me. Sink my toes in some soil rather than stub them on the concrete. So alright, part 5, pop out.